What's up, everybody? Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video. And in this video, we got to break down patch 3.06 that has a lot of freaking crazy changes. Jett got nerfed huge. Skye nerfs, KO changes. We gotta talk about these new map changes that are really gonna affect the meta as a whole. There's a lot to cover, so make sure you watch to the end, smash the like, subscribe, and go to the GameLeap website. If you want to dominate this patch, you gotta go check out our in-depth VOD reviews down below. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now, kicking it off, we're gonna read exactly what they had to say about this patch, and then we'll talk about the changes themselves. Quote, "This round of balance changes targets two initiators, Skye and KO. Skye's benefited from some quick movement shortly after her flashes and frequent seekers, so we slowed down her a tad and bumped the cost of her ult. For KO, he should be a bit better at hiding his flash/drive pitches. And then there's Jett. Simply put, these changes are about getting the most out of Bladestorm's primary fire and creating magic damage rules for the alternate fire. In the same vein, there is one less smoke to work with, so choose wisely." We'll talk more about the Jett changes in a second. 5 of the maps now come with sturdier crates, offering more protection for attackers on some planting sites or a safer positioning for defenders. Now, moving into the agent changes, this is what they had to say about Skye and the changes. Quote, "We've liked that Skye has been able to play off her own flash more and more, but lately there's a sense that it's become too effective and optimal to play her off herself in some situations. An increase to the unequipped time should make it slightly more difficult for Skye to capitalize on guiding light bird flashes as quickly as before, making coordinated play or different styles of flash more competitive. The increased activation time aims to give prepared enemies a slightly larger window to react without trivializing her main initiator tool. Also, we've seen both the frequency of Skye's ult and its effectiveness increase as players have become more skilled with the agent. Looking at the recon and impact it can provide, it now seems more appropriate amongst the ults that cost 7 points. Now, Guiding Light in particular, the unequipped time after casting or bending Guiding Light's projectile speed increased from 0.5 to 0.75, and the windup time after activation before the flash goes off increased from 0.25 to 0.3. Now, this is gonna make Skye a lot harder to be a DPS or a damage Skye. You're gonna want to typically have someone that you're actually setting up with your flashes, rather than being this one-man army that could fulfill a duelist and an initiator role at the same time. Now it's going to be more put into that initiator role where you're more of a supporting role rather than trying to take the offensive yourself. That being said, you can still get really crafty with Guiding Light, right? If enemies are slacking, you can still blind them. You can also throw out fake birds, and of course it's going to be a little bit of change. It's not like a huge delay now, so it's probably still feasible to use it to at the very least take an angle or take a line of sight. And moving on to the next change, Seekers is just going to cost 7 now. Seekers has actually been a really powerful ultimate recently, like they said, as people have been getting a lot better with Skye and using her more and more, especially with the rest of the power in her kit. Seekers being a little bit more expensive makes sense to me. Now, the next character we got to talk about is KO, and they said this, quote, "When we first launched KO, we had 2 big questions. How strong is suppression for initiation, and can regular flashbangs exist against other flashes in Valorant? Although we believe the ability to lob out flashes of where the power would come in, we over-indexed on telegraphing the projectile, which is holding back its success. These changes should help reward those of you who put in the additional effort to throw a clever pop flash. As far as the ultimate goes, we wanted to increase the baseline value of the ultimate by ensuring a longer suppression window for those explosive sight takes. Flash drive duration of wind-up telegraph reduced from 0.5 seconds to 0.3 seconds. Duration of wind-up telegraph reduced on right-click from 1 second to 0.3 seconds. The audio attached to the in-flight projectile has been removed." Now, that's a really freaking big deal for KO. Like, this really makes him similar to how Skye was before, where you could be very aggressive with the character, and that was one of the big problems with KO. It was a little too telegraphed with his flashes. It was hard to 100% connect with even a perfectly thrown flash. You had to be like amazing with it in order for them to be very effective, especially when you were trying to be aggressive. And that's probably not going to be the case anymore. I mean, these are really big changes. I mean, I had to see them in person to know exactly how they're fully going to play out in game. But based on the numbers alone, I think this is going to be a really big buff to KO. And if you want to know where he moves on the tier list, you definitely got to go check out our tier list video that is going to be posted to this channel before too long. So smash that like and subscribe. Now, his ultimate also does not stop pulsing after being downed. That's really interesting, actually. It's still getting value no matter what. They have to finish you off. So that's very interesting. And I think I like that change, but I can see it getting pretty frustrating to deal with. Let me know down below how good you think KO is now. I want to know your opinion about it and why. Now, we got to talk about Jett, because Jett got freaking hard nerfed. Really, this is a really big deal because she's been one of the most dominant characters, not only in ranked, but in pro play, seeing over 80% pick rate in LAN at Berlin. I mean, she's just been a freaking house, and they changed her pretty hard here. Cloudburst charges were reduced from 3 to 2. They said this, our feeling here is that Jett has one too many smokes, and it's contributed to a sense that she could get away with using them at any time, have more to spare, or spam them without much slot. The reduced charges for her smoke should hopefully make the choice on whether to smoke a choke, smoke a path for a dash, or make a one-way a more tactical one. Honestly, I think this change is absolutely fine. We talked about this in the They Should Nerf Jett video that we did a couple days ago. Bladestorm right-click alternate fire no longer charge Jett's kunai. By removing the recharge, we hope Jett mains will optimize for the single kunai kills in order to keep the Bladestorm going and really play into high precision fantasy Jett is all about. We want to incentivize the high skill primary fire kills while allowing the low risk, low reward burst fire option. So they literally killed freaking Korean Jett. But let's talk about this change in a second. Let's talk about the other change they did, which is Bladestorm right click alternate fire. Fire damage changes are reverted. Damage on multipliers will mirror the left click. We've seen Jett's right click be very unpredictable and feel it's confusing to have different damage numbers ruled than the left click. This change should unify how both modes of fire work and provide a little bit more predictability if Jett decides to go for the single kill as opposing to chaining. So now you can one-shot headshot people with the right click with Bladestorm, unlike before where it only did 100 damage. That was definitely very frustrating. So when you're within a certain range, the right click is almost going to be a guaranteed kill, but you don't get a reset. So it's all or nothing. You have to kind of be forced to do that or forced to use that. And the left click is the only way that you're going to be able to get a lot of value with this ability over the course of an entire game. Now, in some ways, I really think this takes away from a huge amount of the power level of Jett. Like, I thought they were going to do something like your ultimate doesn't last for like the whole round instead of lasting forever. But doing this means that you cannot go in aggressively like crazy with Jett anymore. It's going to be very difficult to do so. And this really is going to hurt her ultimate's impact. I mean, this is a really big change. Jett most likely needed it, and I did talk about if they're gonna keep a character with dash, they need to nerf the other aspects of her kit to make her any bit balanced, or else she's gonna stay at that #1 rank. But will this actually change her rank on the tier list? Definitely let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Now, for these last changes, we do gotta talk about how some of these boxes on certain maps are becoming unable to be wall banged. Fracture, okay, that's fine. It's a brand new map. We haven't really played it that much. We haven't played it in competitive. But for Icebox, Haven, and Ascent, I want you to really notice how these boxes have changed. It makes it so much more difficult for you to get harassed in these plant zones. Specifically the Icebox one, that changes absolutely everything because you could really easily get wall banged from that area, and it could be a huge liability, honestly, where you would plant and you could die, and if you died right there with Spike, it was incredibly difficult for you to go retrieve Spike as a team. You basically had to full send it, and if enemies had the power angles, you were basically screwed. And that being added, plus the Ascent boxes and the Bind boxes, I mean, these are really going to change the safe places that you have to plant, and I really do think that this is a very interesting change. It looks like something that doesn't really matter, but I promise you this is going to have a dramatic effect over even pro play, where people plant, what's safe, and we're going to be doing in-depth map breakdowns in the future about all this, so stay tuned. Now, wow, this was a really big patch. We did talk about the fact that there was going to be some big changes past the LAN, and I think they really delivered at the very least with Jett and Skye. Those were the big offenders of the tournament, so it makes sense that those are targeted. I still want to see those Euro changes already, but, you know, I'm probably going to be crying about that for a while. Go to the GameLeap website right now if you want in-depth tips and tricks, agent guides, and you want to dominate the new meta. You got to go check it out, but thanks so much for coming by. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I love your faces, and I'll see you next time.